6 over 60, a show about living a great life at a great age. This show is made possible because of You Care and Northern Tier Insurance.
Hi, welcome to 6 over 60. I'm with my new friend Tom here in Ottertail at Grass Roots.
You know what, Erika just made an assumption that we're best friends already, and I want to assure you we've already walked through Grass Roots, and that's true. Thank you for doing these shoots.
Thank you.
I appreciate it a lot, Erika.
And I'm glad that I'm a friend.
Pretty easily done.
Oh man, this place is beautiful. So we are out visiting Tom way out here in Ottertail in the beautiful lakes country because I was told from a friend of mine, you've got to see this place, and this is, as I already heard, a hidden gem.
Well, I think they're making an assumption. I'm sure the place is a gem. I'm not sure the owner is a gem necessarily. That's an assumption you're making, but thank you very much. And by the way, thank you for doing these shoots of us baby boomers, us elderly people. It's important that our generation takes a look at our shortcomings and the things that we've done. And I appreciate the wide variety of people that you're bringing into your program. It's very cool. My compliments.
Thank you. Thank you. And you are Perm. Tell me a little bit about your history, because we've got a guy who grew up in Perm, left and came back to Perm, right? Just like a bunch of our people that we've visited with.
Like a bunch of the people. You know, Perm's a really lucky town to grow up in. It was 1950s, you know, there were in 3 blocks, there were 35 baby boomers, from Kenny Nelson, who currently has KLN, to a lot of the good old boys in Perm who've created what Perm is today, grew up in Perm, left and came back. So, and we had a wonderful set of parents. We had great moms. Nobody had any money in the 50s, a lot of basement houses. Perm was a pretty poor town, and just Perm is such a place, we just, all of us came back and decided to be part of the greater community here. So that's who I am. My dad was athletic director in Perm, Ted Meinhover, football field's named after him. He was a great teacher and a mentor for, 30-some years as a teacher. My mom was a great mom. I was lucky. My dad was a big jock, 300 pounds, All-American football player at UND, and I was lucky I got to be mama's boy.
That's awesome. How many kids did you have? How many siblings did you have?
Siblings, I had an older brother, John, and a younger brother, Joe.
Okay, so 3 of you, 3 boys.
Three boys, and I was the lucky middle one. And I was not encouraged to be hugely athletic. Dad let me be mama's boy, like I said, much to my benefit.
Nice, that's a good dad. And we have a sign that says watch for kitties, and there's a kitty right behind our videographer Adam's foot, so be careful, there's a little kitty over there.
My history basically, grew up in Perm, went to Moritz State College, taught school for a couple years, and then Jack Kennedy invented Peace Corps, so I was one of the early Peace Corps groups in the middle 60s, and they sent me to the jungles of Borneo. So one day I spoke only English, only knew the white American Christian culture, never seen a person of color growing up in the Midwest here, and suddenly I was living in the deep jungles of Borneo and nobody spoke English, and I was the only white person in hundreds of miles, and it was a transforming experience.
Wow. So, yeah, you told me a little bit about on the phone, and tell me, how does all this history come to your Grass Roots here? What does this place mean to you?
That's a good question. When I came back from Borneo, it was a transforming experience, and I found I just didn't want to spend the rest of my life in fluorescent room teaching. And so I discovered horticulture. In the 1970s, the University of Minnesota was in chaos, and so I actually crashed classes in horticulture for 2 years without paying for it. Because university is big, and they didn't know I was there. So I sat in, I got thank you to the state of Minnesota, I had a free college education. Until Dr. Paul Reed found me, and he was one of my professors. And
you weren't a registered student?
Was not a registered student.
Oh my gosh.
And Dr. Paul found me, gave me a job in his lab, and became really close friends. He was a professor. He comes out here every year, Dr. Paul Reed. And horticulture, University of Minnesota just helped me open the door to horticulture and growing. My first thing that I wanted to do was to grow food, for Minneapolis. So we had 20 greenhouses. I paired up with some of the early hydroponics out in Lino Lakes. And we grew food for 3 or 4 years, 20 greenhouses of tomatoes. We supplied Lunds and Byerlees and Red Owl with tomatoes. But then the energy crisis hit, and that whole industry collapsed. And And then I found my wife, Debbie Gleasing, and we decided to come home. Dad was dying of cancer, and so I came home to Perm in the early 1970s and started greenhouses, Grass Roots. And so here I am 40 years later, out here in the woods of Rush Lake with my Grass Roots.
And so tell me about wanting your mission to get people to learn to grow.
One of the nice things about East Ottertail County here, there's a real sensitivity to wanting to have clean food. We've got quite a number of people who grow strawberries and vegetables. In fact, my partner up here on Highway 78, Dana Barr, he grows like 20 tons of watermelons a year, sells to Central Market in Detroit Lakes and sells to Central Market in Perm. And there's a bunch of us who want to, we talked about it early, sustainable. You know, and we all know that the next generations coming up are going to struggle more with the environment than we are. Us people in my age, we're going to die with the environment that's fairly comfortable, but the next generations are probably going to struggle with a little bit more, food production being one of them, clean food.
Right.
And we try to do that. I sell, one of the products I've got here at Grass Roots is a big collection of apple trees. And I figure if I can get an apple tree in every yard, if you guys Google apples, you'll find that it's one of the top 10 dirty fruits in terms of having pesticides.
That's what I've read. It's in the top, yeah, it's a bad one.
And you know what, if you guys out there don't want to plant a garden because it's too much work, get an apple tree. Hell, you only got to have a hole like that in the ground and you can have apples all winter just by planting an apple tree. One of the most sustainable things that every homeowner can do with food is plant an apple tree. Don't have to weed it, doesn't get bugs. You just water it once in a while, get an old refrigerator, put your apples in the refrigerator, and you got apples till March and April. Probably the diamond in the rough in our lakes area, you know, between Detroit Lakes and this area here going towards New York Mills, we've got 1,000 lakes. And you know what, if we don't screw it up and we can keep our lakes clean, no matter what happens to the environment, if we're sensible to sustainability and what we put in our water, we don't screw up our deep water and our shallow wells and clean up our rivers, my gods of war, this will be the place to go to.
Well, that's what I call it, the oasis. And I am, in all seriousness, extremely, if anybody knows me out there, extremely into sustainability, clean food, clean air, clean water. I'm on all these boards and committees and groups to help with all of that for our lakes area. And it's important. So that's why I especially like talking to people that care about that and watch what's going onto the land, fertilizer, pesticides, all that stuff, because it goes into our lakes. And I'm on the Pelican Group of Lakes Improvement District, and man, when you see what's happening to our lakes and what we're trying to do, it really
That's a very nice segue, Erika. I agree with that. I'm going to amplify what you said, civil society. My son is in the State Department. And he was 5 years in the embassy in China, and he's been to Pakistan in the embassy. And he comes back, and when he speaks to the Rotary and other organizations, he goes right to the topic of what you're doing, and that's civil society. One of the things that people like you and so many of you out there, whether it's the Turkey Association or deer hunters or Christian mothers, we have a strong civil society. And my son says the big difference between autocratic countries like China and East Ottertail County and Becker County is that our participation in civil society is just golden. And it is civil society that's going to keep our environment clean. And just what you just said, all the organizations, and I'm sure a lot of you people watching this program here, most of you belong to something. And if we can get these kids, the younger generations, to participate in civil society, guess what? Sustainability won't be just a dream. It'll be something that will go from generation to generation. How's that for a little moment of preaching,
That's a moment of preaching. And what I learned, I did a year-long road trip, and what I learned with a bunch of biologists is that we have to prioritize what's important to us, which is clean air, clean water, and what we're doing in our own yards and our own lives, because we can't use the excuse of we're too busy. So that's what I hear in this, in myself included. Oh, I'm busy. Well, carve out something in a little time and dedicate yourself to something. And if we all do something, you know.
The other part of that, Erika, is that with the polarization politically right now, civil society is a safe ground. You know, in Perm, we've got people that are on the left like me and a lot of people on the right. But guess what? When we go into a community meeting, we don't bring, and I'm sure it's like that in Detroit Lakes too, in your area, we don't bring the politicization. If we can continue to do that and keep the divisive politics out of our civil society, guess what? We're just going to skate into the 21st century looking pretty damn good. You know that?
Give me a little fist bump. I love that. Yeah, because it's not, at my meetings, it's not about political. It's about what are we here for. Here's the thing, shared values. That's what brings people together, shared values. Clean water, clean
or
air.
being tolerant of values we can't share.
That's a good one.
And that's the bridge. I mean, that's the secret.
That's a new one.
Well, I
And
mean,
was like,
and that's,
okay, you guys are getting too.
No, but again, you know, because whether we're out politically or not, we've just got to be careful. We're not going to bridge the differences. We don't necessarily have to bridge the differences to be successful.
Right.
That's not too much in your face, is it, girl?
Right. That's good.
Hey, I got a phone call from my daughter, and she said I should promote Grass Roots a little bit.
Okay, well, let's promote Grass Roots a little bit. What do you do here? You sell plants, apple trees.
One of the cool things we do this year is I've got like 4 or 5 artists from a local community, and I had them come in and I made the deal with them. I said, you create 4 beautiful patio pots, which you can see a lot of them here. Every one of them is totally unique, and if they do 4 patio pots, they can make one free for themselves.
Oh, wow.
So I've got an inventory. If you guys go to garden centers, you get a hanging basket or a patio pot, they're all the same. They're homogenized.
Yeah.
And I probably grow 1,000 different varieties of flowers, and I seed all of this myself. We don't get anything in. I grow all this myself.
Wow.
And every one of these pallets, you know, is every one of these containers that you see in our background here is done by one of our local artists. And I sell a lot of bedding plants, you know, and we're pretty verbal here. We're pretty sassy.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of horticulture. We got a lot of horticulture information. You guys, you see my signs all over the place. Tom's Grass Roots. I've got little gorilla signs out on the highway. So I'm out here on Rush Lake, Highway 54, between Rush Lake and Lake Buchanan.
Yeah, and when you come here, it's got like this peace because, like, I like what you were saying before. It's got a vibe of, I don't know, eclectic. It's like artsy. You've got art around, and you just kind of want to hang out. Like, I should have brought my book.
And I've got a coffee shop on top of the barn down there, and we've got Michelle Harding has a yoga studio in the back lot over there where she teaches yoga. Come on out, you guys. Even if you don't buy anything, bring the kids out. We've got kiddies running around, and one of the nice things I've got here, Erika, when people get out of the cars in their parking lot, I get probably about 60% of the people have kids. And if you go in the other garden center, you don't see kids running around. But you see kids running around here, so it's a comfortable place.
Yeah.
Except for the damn deer flies. Sorry, you guys, can't do anything about the deer flies.
So we're at Grass Roots and Ottertail. I'm with Tom, now a best friend. And take a visit out to Grass Roots. Thanks for watching 6 over 60, and we hope to see you again on another episode.
And you guys, thanks for supporting community television.